And I agree with you, and I also think sort of, especially nowadays, there's almost no excuse, just given the multiple ways, if you can't afford it, the ways that you can record, or I'm saying there's Bandcamp, there's Spotify, there's all these ways to make it available. If, like you said, you don't put it on vinyl, there's not a physical copy of it.
That's true, but we still have artists that are very insecure about their work. They don't want to be criticized, or they don't want to be perceived as something flawed. They don't want to be judged.
Right.
So they're just never going to put anything out. I have recordings here in the house that are really nice recordings of various things I've picked up along the way, where the artist chose not to publish, for fear of being judged or something.
So now you're doing process. You did that first 12-inch. You did it, like I said, at South Coast Studios. You go from a 3-piece to being a 4-piece. What kind of happens then? Was it playing and then because the sound changes, and I remember that there was kind of a story about Egg and you guys not noticing that until you were in the studio.
That's a very keen recollection.
Well, you and I, man, we were talking on the phone. You and I, we used to talk a lot more. You and I used to talk.
So, yeah. There was a shift where I think probably with Egg he wanted to do more melodic hardcore kinds of things. I think the scene was heavily influenced by bands. Obviously, these are older records, but like the Dag Nasty stuff and the Verbal Assault. There's a lot of melodic styling that was showing up in the scene. I think he wanted to have more participation with that, so he basically dropped the bass. I don't know where he met Dave, who picked up the bass for us. Oh no, I do remember. He was a student at Cal State San Bernardino.
Okay.
So they had met somehow. And Dave was a competent bass player, and he brought a different sort of feel to the band. More slappy bass, more groovy. I thought it was good. Musically, it was good for the band, and he certainly could keep up with the hardcore stuff, and he was definitely into it. And then at that stage, Egg had more freedom on stage to be more of a front man, if you will. Then some other weird stylings happened. He invited Judy to our recording of
Regeneration.
The LP. Yeah, Regeneration. He had invited her, and it didn't. I don't know if it fits so well. I think if we were to go back in time, I would have done that album differently. I still like it. I still will put it on the turntable every couple of years or so just to get a feel for it. Different band, much different band.
Well, I remember, because my band Ice, we were kind of starting to go more melodic when we did our second 7-inch, and I remember sort of being emboldened by your Egg story, because you had said, the way that you guys practiced, you weren't able to really hear him in the PA, so you didn't exactly know how he was singing. And then you guys got in the studio, and I remember you telling me, if you think he's melodic on the record, we had to rein him in from where he started. So I was like, oh wow.
Yeah, it's really weird because I had the same experience when we recorded a Pillsbury Hardcore LP that was never released in '86.
Are you going to release that?
That's a surprise.
Oh, wow. See, okay. Whoa, okay, good. See, that's what I've always loved about you. You've always played it very close to the vest.
It's a surprise. So with Bill Tuck in that particular recording showed up, and all of a sudden he goes into the vocal booth, whatever you call it, and we're in the sound room, and all of a sudden he's singing, and we're kind of looking at each other like, am I hearing that right? It's like, what? I think there's some nervousness. I mean, you can ask vocalists. You're a vocalist. Speaking of which.
Oh, you're the best. You're the best. Love you. Thank you.
Making up for lost time in Lahain?
You're the best. You're the best.
Look at this sexy.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you.
Do you know Mikey was my roommate?
Oh, of course. No, you and I would talk. That's how we talk so much on the phone. Because I would call up and he wouldn't be there and I would just talk to you.
Well, he used to get those newspapers laid out all over the and it was a complete mess.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So then you lead process at some point during this, because I know that Dennis filled in, I think, on tour for them. I think.
Yeah. So when my college days had come to an end, I was very anxious to start my career. I didn't have money. I effectively put myself through college and things. It was my way of doing it. And Brian Boss as well. Just this thing, our road, our journey has ended with process, and so I think about probably June of '94 we played our last show with that band, and in the meantime, I think Dennis was getting closer and closer to what was going on there. He bought my SG from me at some point along the way, and I moved to a Les Paul, a black Les Paul, which I really liked, and yeah, and so that summer they went on tour, and they had quite a few shows and stuff like that, and so I went off to the career world, and they went off on tour, and the rest is history, I think.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I would think about you here and there during that time, but you didn't leave, like, because you did Charred Remains. But when did that come into?
Yeah. Right. So back to Fist Happy Children. I mean, the reason Fist Happy Children ended, I was a little bit quick on that story. So.
Oh yeah, no, please talk. I want it all.
Obviously, my brother and Wood were looking to do more skilled styling. One of the reasons why that happened was we were really disillusioned with the scene. Fist Happy Children was very disillusioned with the scene. We were together for about 2 years. I think maybe in total we played 10 shows, maybe 12 shows that entire time. I mean, you're from Orange County, you know all the flyers. If you go through the history of all the flyers in Orange County, it's like the same bands, same headliner.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna name names, but like this band ended, now that's a new band, now they're headlining again. It's like if you looked at that history, I'm not making this up. I could get my flyer collection and we could go through it. But the problem was we had the same sorts of bands and the same sorts of people pretty much on most of the shows. Fist Happy Children was not the right band for Southern California, especially Orange County. I'm not saying Orange County didn't like Fist Happy Children. I'm just saying there really wasn't a market for it, or we were too, I don't know, ahead of our time or something like this. I think Fist Happy Children, if we were like in the Bay Area, would have had we would have kept going. I know in a couple of fanzine interviews we did, Wood had said something to the effect like, if this band ends, it's because of a lack of interest, a lack of fan base interest that we could perceive. Now, obviously, New Beginnings sold a fair amount of records. I don't know how many they pressed, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 of these things. And this one in particular, which was my favorite, the Vigilante. We didn't feel it. We didn't feel the love. That's a real statement there. And I think because of it, it's like if you're rehearsing, now Wood had a very regimented rehearsal requirement, and that's because of his professionalism. I mean, the guy is like an incredible bass player, and since the beginning of his history of Pillsbury Hardcore all the way into this moment with this Bastard Noise stuff, I think the guy's probably put out something like 30 records. I mean, he's absolutely a monster when it comes to being a productive music writer and publisher. But we just weren't really feeling it. We didn't feel the fan base. We didn't feel like we were making traction. We were having a really hard time getting on shows. I mean, I'll give credit to Rich of Instead. He was a good friend of ours, and he was really helping us get on whatever shows he could possibly squeak us in on. So I give him a lot of credit for that. Anyway, so we just thought, this isn't going anywhere, and they want to do something different. So we diverged. But yeah, we really loved Fist Happy Children. I mean, when we were doing the music, when we were writing the music, when we were recording the music, we were having a great time. It was almost flawless. And I'll prove the point in just a second. So that band ended. They went on to do Cyclops. I had gone into Addiction. And somewhere, I don't even know the dates, I'd have to get the records out and try and do a little mapping, but somewhere between Addiction and End to End, I get a call from Wood, and he goes, dude, we got a new band we need you to be in. And I go, well, it's like I got college, I got Process, I got, all right, this band, and I mean, it's like, what do you want me to do? He's like, come down to the Packing House in Claremont this Saturday. We need to, can you help us with the recording? And I don't know any of the songs, but I'll show up. So Pecking House, Claremont, walk into the room. Wood's there, my brother's there. Recording equipment's all set up. I go, what is this about? Wood taught me 5 songs in less than an hour. And an hour later, we had the recording done. And the rest is history. And so that's this one here. The Charred Remains.
Okay.
This is the first Man is the Bastard. So later it was published like this.
Okay.
As first music. And coincidentally, I'm re-releasing it next year as a 12. So that's really exciting for me. And anyways, I mean, it was literally magical because, I mean, how do you take someone like myself, who's, I don't claim to be like an incredible musician or anything, get me into a room, teach me 5 or 6 songs, and an hour later we have a finished recording ready to be published. That's how meshed we were. I know this happens at other places, but I've never heard of anybody doing it before, personally.
Well, so Charred Remains, because I had a Man is the Bastard question in here. So Charred Remains became Man is the Bastard.
Charred Remains is Man is the Bastard.
But, okay, how were you involved in the building of the concrete amp, head, whatever the thing that the guy would play with?
The concrete amp?
Yeah, because he built it. I don't think you were in the band, but I know you were a part of this, because you and I talked about this.
Are you referring to Henry Barnes' Amps for Christ?
No, there was a guy, I want to say you told me his name was Kook.
Yeah, that's Eric Wood.
Okay, yeah. Okay, then, and he built the amp so that they would have that sound. He encased them in concrete.
Well, I don't know anything about concrete, but I will tell you that through the years, he used Serwin Vega, Ampeg SVTs. He had a variety of very loud power amplifiers for bass, and he's blown them up before. I mean, literally, they're catching fire. Like the way that he plays. And isn't that a surprise to anybody? I would think. But yeah, he has smoked amps before. It's really quite remarkable. I mean, I talk to these buddies that I have in New York City, and they're like, the most tremendous live performance they ever saw was Man is the Bastard at CBGB's, where the first 3 seconds of the song, like, people were falling backwards. And it's like, that's because of Wood. And it's just, boom, it's like, that's some serious punk.
Can I have like 5 more questions. Can I send you a link? Because we're coming down. It says that we have like just a few more. There's like a thing on the Zoom. I'm going to send you another link. Don't go anywhere. I got 5 more questions. This is wonderful. This is wonderful. Don't go anywhere, Shawn.